On Tech News Today, Apple reports higher quarterly profits than any company ever. Plus, Canada gets caught snooping on file downloads, and Alibaba goes to war against a Chinese government agency that accuses Alibaba of taking bribes and ripping off customers. It's all coming up next on Tech News Today.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Wednesday, January 28, 2015. This episode is brought to you by Shutterstock.com. With over 46 million high-quality stock photos, illustrations, vectors, and video clips, Shutterstock helps you take your creative projects to the next level. For 20% off image subscription packages on your new account, go to Shutterstock.com and use the offer code TNT115. And by Prosper. Prosper is a peer-to-peer lending marketplace that connects people who are looking to borrow money with those who have money to lend. Visit prosper.com/twit and receive a $50 Visa prepaid card when you get a loan. Tech News Today is the show where we talk about the tech news with the journalists who report it. When tech news breaks, we fix it. I'm Mike Elgan. Katie Benner is off today, so we're going to jump right into the news. Apple yesterday destroyed analyst predictions by reporting record profits and earnings. The company's $18 billion in profits was the highest quarterly profit reported by any company ever. Although Apple products were broadly successful in many markets, it was the iPhone in China that sent the company over the top. Jeremy C. Owens is a technology editor for Silicon Valley's San Jose Mercury News and joins us now. How you doing, Jeremy?
Good, Mike. Thanks for having me today.
Thank you for coming on. Now, where did all this money come from?
Well, like you said, it's the iPhone. Rational predictions were somewhere around 65 to 67 million iPhones sold in the quarter. The whisper number on Wall Street was about 70 million. It came in at 74.5 million iPhones sold. And that's patently ridiculous, just about. They sold 51 million the year before in the holiday quarter. So you can see how that jumped. Thanks to the addition of the iPhone 6 and iPhone 6 Plus. And that's really what pushed this so high.
Now, revenue in Greater China, which includes China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan, came in at about $16.1 billion. And, what does that mean? 16 billion, is that a lot? Is that a little? I mean, that's just, at some point, the mind fails to comprehend these numbers. But that's greater, that rose 70% over the year before. What changed in China for Apple?
Well, they signed a deal with China Mobile, which is the largest wireless carrier in China. And they've been trying to get that deal done for years. And Tim Cook finally went to China last year, got it done. That's the same as in the United States. It used to be the iPhone, you could only buy it on AT&T. And then they started going to Verizon. Once they hit Verizon, that's the largest wireless carrier. Then you start getting more and more people. Now they're on all four in the United States, or all four major ones. And so that really increases their available customer base. And they did the same in China, as well as introducing the iPhone 6 Plus, which is the larger screen. So-called phablets, I hate that word, but it's what people use. Are very popular around Asia. And so coming out with that larger screen was actually kind of seen as a push to get those customers in Asia that were buying the larger Samsung Note and other things like that had larger screens. So I think that probably helped as well.
I hate the word phablet, too. I prefer fabulate.
That one.
Yeah, that's just me. Well, it's kind of funny that, you mentioned that Tim Cook went to China. That was one factor, and I believe that you're absolutely right on that. There was an interesting sub-story to that happened kind of all year slowly. The official media, the state-owned media, both the broadcast and the largest newspaper, not only in China but in the world, actually went on the attack and attacked China several times, accusing them of ripping off customers and treating Chinese customers as second-class citizens. And in every single case, Tim Cook countered with major apologies, total, bending over backwards to basically kind of ameliorate these concerns. And that strategy seems to have worked. Finally, the government gave up, stopped slamming Apple for the most part. They still kind of blame Apple or kind of accuse Apple of maybe allowing the NSA to spy on Chinese citizens through iPhones and so on. But nevertheless, the strategy paid off. Now, there was one analyst who predicted, we were talking about it earlier this week, that the number of phones to be sold in China would be reported as higher than the U.S. That didn't happen, but Tim Cook said that that is in fact an inevitable situation that will happen sometime in the future. Is he being overly optimistic, considering the rise of Xiaomi and other Chinese brands who are now directly competing in Apple's space in the high end of the market?
I don't think you can ever doubt Apple at this point that they're going to be able to do something with how they've continued to grow. You know, by law of large numbers, you wouldn't expect them to continue to grow at this rate, yet they are. You know, Xiaomi is probably just going to take the same position that in the United States, you know, for Android phones have taken. You know, Xiaomi hasn't really sold in the United States that much, but we do have a wealth of cheaper Android phones, and so they'll probably take that position. And if you look, you know, you see that in the U.S., Android has the most market share, but Apple has been in the most revenue because they have the higher average sales price. And as you know, China is the most populous nation in the world, and it's also becoming more affluent. There are more people willing to spend money there. There are more people making more money there. So you're going to have a chance. Now, will it happen? Who knows? But I wouldn't doubt Apple at this point after what they did in the fourth quarter.
In addition to their sheer size and growing affluence, Chinese consumers tend to be willing to spend a higher percentage of their income on gadgets like iPhones than people in other markets do. Okay, so iPhones really stole the show there, but let's talk about another business. How did the Macs do generally?
Well, they sold about 5.5 million Macs. That was just right at the same level they had the quarter before, which was a record for a quarter. So they've actually made the most revenue off of Macs in their history in 2014. You know, that's a refresh cycle for Macs has been coming, and it seems to have eventually hit at the end of last year. But they didn't really talk about it that much. It's still not huge. It's about 10%, a little bit less of their revenues for the year. So not a huge deal, but, you know, it's looking like a strong business going forward.
Let's talk about iPads. Is this a dying platform?
You know, if iPads are dying, I know plenty of hardware companies who wishes their business would die in the exact same manner. You know, the same with the Mac refresh. You're seeing those two kind of go in a pattern now, and what you're seeing is people are deciding: do I want to buy a tablet or do I want to buy a PC? And people bought a bunch of iPads when they first came out and over the past couple of years, and now they seem to be going back and buying more PCs. And if you think about it, if you expect tablets to have the same refresh rate as smartphones, I think you're going the wrong route. I think they're going to go more like PCs. When you buy a PC, you expect that computer, that laptop to last you 5, 6, 7, 8 years, hopefully. And I think people are looking at about the same thing for tablets, that they don't use them as much as they do their smartphones. It's more a luxury item, something to have while you're sitting around on the couch, sitting in bed, play around with, that you're not going to spend as much money to buy new ones as long as your old one is still working. I know my wife kept her first generation iPad until she got a new iPad mini for Christmas this year. She'd had it for 5 years, I think, since it first came out. And it's not like we got rid of it. It just got kicked down to my stepdaughter, you know, and so we won't have to buy her a tablet. And this is the way these things are going. And so you'll see that iPhone is going to be the huge business for Apple, and Mac and iPad are going to kind of go up and down, maybe even in tandem. And Tim Cook even said that on the call, that it's possible that Mac sales were cannibalizing iPad sales a little bit. So you might see that happen, and that's going to be, you know, I think Apple will be fine with that.
There are also rumors that Apple will come out with a 13-inch iPad. I have doubts that I don't doubt that they're going to do it. I have doubts that it will be a super popular form factor that will save the category, or at least cause them to have sudden growth in the iPad market. I think that it's just going to be, as you said, the problem is that these things last forever and there's no reason to upgrade, really. Now, one of the fun things to do, one of my hobbies actually, every time there's an Apple earnings report, is to check in on how much cash they have. It's just a fantastic number every single time, and this time was no disappointment. $178 billion in cash. Besides the $5 billion they're going to spend on that spaceship campus, what are they going to do with all that money?
Well, they'll probably increase once again their shareholder return package for their cash. They increased that to $130 billion last year over 2 years. They've now spent more than $100 billion on share repurchases and dividends, trying to push some of that cash back to their shareholders. There are predictions this morning from analysts that they'll, in April at their next earnings call, they'll go ahead and increase that plan again to $200 billion over 3 years to try and buy back more stock and increase their dividends and continue to push that back to shareholders. And Apple's always been good about spending on research and development. They have one of the highest R&D budgets, right there with Google and some others here in the Valley. And they're going to keep spending on everything. And if you've got the cash, spend it. And I think they're going to spend it on, trying to develop new products. I think they'll spend it on trying to reward investors and pretty much whatever else Tim Cook feels like. He's got enough. It's not like you're going to make a mistake and wipe out your bank account when you got nearly $200 billion sitting there.
If I were Tim Cook, I'd give myself a raise. He only makes just under $10 million a year, and that's dwarfed by some of the other executives who some of whom make in the 50 to 70 something million dollars a year, salaries and bonuses and all the rest. Yes, I'd give myself a raise. What are they going to do? Fire him?
Well, remember that he got almost $400 million in stock when he took the CEO job in 2011. That has now doubled. So he's sitting on stock options that when they vest will be, right now worth probably about $700 million. So he's not going to be poor.
It's good work if you can get it. Jeremy C. Owens is at SiliconValley.com, and you can follow him on Twitter at jowens510. Thank you for joining us, Jeremy.
Thanks for having me, Mike. Have a good day.
All right. Well, in a sec, we're going to hear about nefarious activities by Canada's electronic spy agency. But first, let's talk about Shutterstock.com. We live in a visual world. The internet has become a visual place. If you've got a blog or a website or doing any sort of business or marketing or anything that you do online, nobody's going to pay attention to it unless you have stunning images to go with it. The reason is because great images are everywhere. Truly great images are still rare, though, and you can find them on Shutterstock.com. They have more than 46 million high-quality stock photos, as well as illustrations, vectors, and video clips. Many of these are taken by professional photographers and artists, and it's really obvious when you go to the site. There's some really stunning photographs, some of which are regular pictures that you can just use as pictures, other which are designed to be part of your graphics where you can add your own text or other elements. You can mix and match and do whatever you want with these images. Once you essentially sign up for Shutterstock, you've got just an unlimited, you will never, ever come close to ever running out of fantastic images. They add 300,000 new images every single week. And they have flexible pricing, too. You can get the 25 image a day standard subscription, which is what we have here at Twit. We never run out of these things. And it's fun to just go and search. Their search engine is really fantastic. And sometimes I go to the Shutterstock search engine just to see what's there, just to throw in the most random phrases and colors and emotions and situations and people. And it's like they always have dozens or hundreds or thousands of images that fit my criteria. So no matter what you're looking for, you'll always find it. I've been blogging for a long time, and I always use Shutterstock for my images. You don't want to steal other people's photos. You don't want to use bogus photos. Sometimes I use my own photos, and sometimes I want to illustrate a concept and I don't have a picture that I've taken for it, I go to Shutterstock.com. It's really a great service. You can start now, no credit card needed. Just start an account and begin using Shutterstock to help imagine what your next project could be. Once you decide to buy, use the offer code TNT115. New accounts will receive 20% off image subscription packages. That's Shutterstock.com. And for 20% off image subscription packages on new accounts, use the offer code TNT115. And we thank Shutterstock for their support of Tech News Today. Canada's electronic spy agency tracks down millions of downloads worldwide, according to a report by CBC News in Canada and The Intercept. The communication security establishment has been running a project called Levitation, which reportedly involves a collection of information on between 10 million and 15 million downloads every single day from 102 free file upload sites. The information comes as yet another revelation from the Edward Snowden trove of leaked NSA documents, the gift that keeps on giving those of us who do the news. This is just an incredible development. Now, it's probable, We don't have solid information about this, but it's probable that that Canada shares the information that they gather from these download sites with the so-called Five Eyes countries. Those are the United States, Canada, Britain, New Zealand, and Australia, really the major English-speaking countries. And Canada is the lead agency on this category of surveillance on the downloads information. This is essentially metadata on downloads. In other words, what files are being downloaded, who's downloading them, and so on. And again, Canada's in charge of this apparently, and they're sharing it with the other Five Eyes nations. They didn't name all 102 of the uploading sites, but they did specify SendSpace, RapidShare, and the now defunct Mega Upload as sites that have been monitored by the Canadians. Well, Chinese regulators today accused e-commerce giant Alibaba of hurting customers by allowing counterfeit products by unlicensed merchants, of allowing illegal and misleading advertising, and of taking bribes. Alibaba today responded by accusing the regulator of bias and of procedural misconduct. The report was finished before Alibaba's IPO, but withheld until now to avoid disrupting it. And that was really nice of this regulator. But this is really interesting because what's happening here is that, you know, the Chinese government and regulators go after companies all the time. And in China, you pretty much do what they tell you to do. You keep your mouth shut because they have all the power, and they can, you know, they can yank your license. They can make life miserable for you. But here, Alibaba has gotten so big and powerful that they're willing to stand up and personally accuse the head of this agency of all kinds of wrongdoing. So this is going to be an interesting war. And what's interesting about this as well is that essentially the Chinese government agency is accusing Alibaba of doing the exact same things that the United States has accused them of doing. And they, of course, deny all this kind of stuff. And of course, Alibaba was founded in 1999 by Jack Ma, one of the world's most wealthiest people. And their IPO was, I believe, in September. And that was, I believe, the world's largest IPO at the time. Well, Mariette has petitioned the Federal Communications Commission to allow the blocking of personal Wi-Fi hotspots owned by hotel guests. You know, those little, like, MiFi type things. But FCC Commissioner Jessica Rosenworcel said yesterday that she wants the commission to turn Mariette down. FCC Chairman Tom Wheeler chimed in later in the day, saying that protecting customers from this kind of interference is a priority for the FCC Enforcement Bureau. All right, in just a sec, we got a lot more news for you, but let's talk about Prosper. Prosper is the new way, the high-tech way, the Silicon Valley way to borrow money. Prosper is a peer-to-peer lending marketplace. That's right. You borrow money from people who want to invest in you. It connects people who are looking to borrow money with those who have money to lend. If you visit prosper.com/twit, that's a special site, and you'll get a $50 Visa prepaid card when you get a loan. You can get up to $35,000 in as few as 5 days. What could you do with $35,000? You could pay off high-rate credit cards. And really, you're borrowing money, and then you pay off money that you've already borrowed, essentially, at a better rate, and you'll get out of debt much quicker. You could fix up your house. You can put it into a new business, whatever you need the money for. Just check your low rate instantly without affecting your good credit. Just go to prosper.com/twit. For a limited time, Prosper is offering Twit fans a $50 Visa prepaid card when you get a loan. Just go to prosper.com/twit, and that's a special site just for the Twit Army. Up to $35,000 in just 5 days and a $50 Visa prepaid card. Just go to prosper.com/twit. The Misfit Flash is a $50 minimalist fitness tracker that measures calories burned and step taken. It's a little disc thing. You can put it on a watch. You can wear it as a necklace. You can use it in all kinds of ways, and it's up till now been used just for fitness and for quantified self-tracking. But starting in March, it'll get a software update that will give you the ability to command home automation devices thanks to the company opening up the software to third-party apps. It's got a minimalist interface, like I said. There's no screen, there's like one button. So you have to program it to basically, if one tap means turn this on, two taps means lock the door, whatever, you'll have to program it yourself. But it's an interesting development for a fitness application to be controlling home automation stuff. Well, Recode is reporting that Snapchat will soon unveil mini-movies created by YouTube stars. It's called Snapper Hero, and the series will feature 12 episodes of shows featuring YouTubers like Freddie Wong and Sean McBride. Each episode will run for about 2 minutes. In our government crackdowns segment, the Mexican government plans to impose sanctions on the Mexican unit of Google for allegedly violating the country's data protection law. Mexico's Federal Institute for Information Access and Data Protection took the step after a complaint by an unidentified citizen who asked Google to delete his personal data from search request results and whose request was ignored by Google. In France, the French President François Hollande said yesterday that France will present a draft law next month that holds tech companies like Twitter, Microsoft, Google, and Facebook responsible as accomplices in the crime of hate speech if they don't cooperate with the government on the removal of pro-terrorism content. Wow, we're going to be reporting on that story again in the future, I can guarantee it. And in our insecurity section, the black phone, remember that? It's that phone that exists for maximum security and privacy. Well, they found a bug in the Silent Circle silent text chat app that comes with the phone, which made it possible for hackers to decrypt messages, take over Silent Circle accounts, and capture contacts and even location data. What a disaster. The bug was revealed by security researchers Mark Dowd today after having been patched by Silent Circle. So he went to Silent Circle, told him about it, they fixed it, and then he announced the news so that he could revel in the glory of having found such a massive bug in a phone that's designed entirely for security. Well, we got some big numbers for you today. 1 billion. I should do that with a pinky. That's how many iOS devices Apple has shipped, according to a claim made by CEO Tim Cook in yesterday's earnings call. Wow, 1 billion. Okay, another big number, 1,000. That's approximately how many jobs Sony plans to cut in its smartphone division. The job cuts will come mostly in Europe and China. And these, by the way, are in addition to 1,000 or so jobs already eliminated in the mobile unit. All right, one more number. 4. That's how many apps in the top 4 downloaded apps worldwide on both iOS and Android are owned by Facebook. The top 4 apps in the world are, in order, Facebook, Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, and Instagram. So if you're wondering why Facebook was buying up these types of apps and spending so much money on them, that's why. They want to be number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. Well, in Hollywood, Universal Pictures says the principal filming of the Steve Jobs biopic written by Aaron Sorkin and directed by Danny Boyle is now truly happening. The filmmakers have already completed preliminary filming in the actual garage where Apple was founded. The movie will center around 3 keynotes from ancient history: the first Mac keynote, the Next Computer keynote, and the 1998 iMac keynote. In other words, the movie will actually end long before the introductions of the iPod, iPhone, and iPad. Michael Fassbender will play Steve Jobs, and Seth Rogen will play Steve Wozniak. Well, in news you could lose, a movie called Tangerine won fans at the recent Sundance Film Festival. The Internet Movie Database summarizes the story as, quote, "A working girl tears through Tinseltown on Christmas Eve, searching for the pimp who broke her heart," unquote. What's truly interesting about this movie is that it was shot with an iPhone 5S. The filmmakers also used an $8 app called Filmic Pro, a Steadicam, anamorphic adapter lenses for the iPhone from Moondog Labs, and plenty of post-production work. Can't wait to not see it. Well, our TNT fan of the day is Steve in Iowa, who posted this picture on Twitter and said that he watched last Wednesday's show at dinner with steak, onions, sauerkraut, and jalapeno pizza. Wait a minute, steak and pizza? Wow, I'm coming over. It's not messing around there. How do you watch or listen to TNT? Just record a video or take a picture of yourself or your setup and post it on Google+, Twitter, or Facebook and use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT, and we will find it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Tech News Today. You can subscribe to Tech News Today on Feedly, or you can choose another way to subscribe at twit.tv/TNT. You can also watch us live every weekday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 1800 UTC at live.twit.tv or in the app or plugin, browser plugin of your choice. And if you're ever in the San Francisco Bay Area, come on up and watch us live. Follow us on Twitter at Tech News Today TV, and you can also follow me personally on Facebook. Just go to facebook.com/mike.elgan. And please send us your thoughts and opinions to tnt@twit.tv or call 260-TNT-SHOW. And don't miss our evening newscast, Tech News Tonight, at 4 p.m. Pacific tonight and every weeknight right here on the Twit Network. My name's Mike Elgan. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you tomorrow. Thank you, Tanya Hall.